A young girl was left alone after her parents died in an accident, but everything changed unexpectedly with the arrival of some peculiar new neighbors. The sun had barely risen when Lily Evans opened her bright blue eyes, sparkling like sapphires. She jumped out of bed, her golden curls bouncing as she ran to the window. Today was a special day, her 5th birthday. "Mommy! Daddy, wake up!" Lily shouted, running down the hall. Her bare feet padded softly against the wooden floor. Her parents' bedroom door opened, revealing Mary and John Evans, smiling and with open arms. Lily threw herself at them, giggling as her father lifted her into the air. "Our little princess is growing up," John exclaimed, twirling her around. Mary kissed Lily's cheek. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. We have a surprise for you." Lily's eyes widened. "A surprise? What is it?" "Patience, my dear," Mary smiled. "First, a special birthday breakfast." In the cozy kitchen, the aroma of freshly made pancakes filled the air. Lily sat at the table, her legs swinging excitedly. Her gaze drifted out the window, taking in the quiet streets of their suburban neighborhood in Austin, Texas. "Here you go, princess." John placed a plate in front of her. A bear-shaped pancake grinned at her, covered with blueberries and whipped cream. Lily clapped her hands with delight. "It's Mr. Snuggles," she exclaimed, referring to her favorite teddy bear. As they ate, Mary and John exchanged knowing glances. Lily noticed her curiosity growing. "What about the surprise?" she asked, licking whipped cream from her lip. Mary laughed. "Well, since today is such a special day, we thought we'd take you for a picnic in the countryside. How about that?" Lily's eyes sparkled. "With Mr. Snuggles, too?" "Of course," John nodded. "We couldn't leave him behind, could we?" Lily ran to get ready, humming happily. She chose her favorite dress, yellow with white daisies, and hugged Mr. Snuggles tightly. Soon, the Evans family was in the car, driving out of town. Lily gazed out the window, marveling at the ever-changing scenery. Green fields replaced brick buildings, and the sky seemed vaster than ever. "Look, Lily," Mary pointed. "Can you see the bluebonnets?" Lily pressed her nose against the window, her eyes wide with wonder. A field of bluebonnets stretched as far as the eye could see, their vibrant blue petals dancing in the summer breeze. That's when it happened. A deafening sound. The screech of metal. The world spinning. Lily felt herself being violently tossed, Mr. Snuggles flying from her arms. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. Then, silence. Lily blinked, confused. The car was upside down. Something warm and sticky was trickling down her face. She tried to move, but she was trapped. "Mommy," she called, her voice trembling. "Daddy?" No response. Tears began to stream down Lily's face. She didn't understand what was happening. Where were her parents? Why weren't they answering? Suddenly, strange voices and bright lights invaded the car. Gentle hands freed her from the seatbelt, pulling her out. "It's okay, sweetie," a soft voice said. "You're safe now." Lily looked around, disoriented. People in uniforms were rushing around. Sirens wailed in the distance. "I want my mommy," Lily sobbed. "Where's my daddy?" The woman holding her exchanged a sad look with another uniformed man. "We'll take care of you, honey," she said softly. Lily saw her yellow dress stained with red. Mr. Snuggles lay in the grass nearby, dirty and torn. She reached for him, but he was too far away. As they placed her in an ambulance, Lily looked back at the wrecked car. A strange, frightening feeling came over her. Something had changed, something she couldn't quite grasp. The day that had begun with such promise and joy was now shrouded in confusion and fear. Lily hugged herself, longing for the familiar comfort of her parents' arms. But they didn't come. As the ambulance sped away, carrying Lily toward an uncertain future, happy memories danced in her mind. Her mother's warm smile, her father's deep laughter, sunny days at the park, cozy nights reading stories. Lily closed her eyes, clinging to those memories as if they were a protective blanket. She didn't know what would happen next, but something in her young heart told her that nothing would ever be the same again. Her 5th birthday, the day that was supposed to be filled with joy and surprises, had become the day Lily's world turned upside down. And as the city sped by in a blur outside the ambulance window, one question echoed in her young mind: what will happen to me now? The social worker's car pulled up in front of the familiar red brick house. Lily, her eyes swollen from crying, clutched Mr. Snuggles to her chest. The teddy bear, recently cleaned and stitched, was her only companion on this journey back home. "So come on, Lily," said Mrs. Davis, the social worker, her voice attempting to sound gentle but failing to mask the strain. "Let's go inside and get some of your things." Lily didn't move. Her small fingers gripped the seatbelt as if it were a lifeline. "I want Mommy," she whispered, her voice thick with unshed tears. "Mrs. Davis sighed, a weary sound Lily had heard too many times in the past few days. "Lily, honey, we've talked about this. Your Mommy and Daddy, they can't come back." The words hung in the air, heavy and incomprehensible to Lily's 5-year-old mind. She knew something terrible had happened, that her parents had gone to heaven, as the nurses at the hospital had said. But what did that really mean? Why had they left her all alone? Reluctantly, Lily allowed Mrs. Davis to help her out of the car. Her steps were slow and hesitant as they approached the front door. The garden, once so lovingly tended by her mother, was already showing signs of neglect. The daisies Lily and Mary had planted together were wilting under the summer sun. The key turned in the lock with a click that seemed to echo down the quiet street. The door swung open, revealing the darkened interior of the house. Lily hesitated on the threshold, as if crossing that line meant accepting a truth she wasn't ready to face. "Come on, sweetie," Mrs. Davis encouraged gently. Lily took a step inside, and then another. The familiar scent of lavender and cinnamon, her mother's perfume mingled with the spices her father used for baking, enveloped her like a phantom embrace. "Mommy," she called instinctively, her small voice echoing through the empty house. The silence that answered was deafening. Lily wandered through the living room, her eyes tracing familiar objects. The sofa where they cuddled to watch movies, the bookshelf filled with books her father read to her every night, the piano where her mother played lullabies. Every object, every corner of the house held a memory. Lily could almost see the ghosts of those happy memories dancing around her, taunting her with their proximity, yet remaining eternally out of reach. "Lily," Mrs. Davis called softly, "let's go up to your room and get some clothes and toys, okay?" Lily nodded silently, climbing the stairs with heavy steps. Her room, once a haven of joy and imagination, now felt strangely alien. The pink walls, the drawings hanging on the wall, the scattered toys, everything seemed to belong to another life, another Lily. As Mrs. Davis began packing some clothes, Lily sat on the bed, hugging Mr. Snuggles tightly. Her eyes wandered around the room, landing on each object with a mixture of familiarity and strangeness. That's when she noticed something out the window. In the house next door, which had been empty for months, there was movement. A couple was unloading boxes from a moving truck. Curious despite her sadness, Lily moved closer to the window. The man was tall and thin, with dark hair and a kind smile. The woman had blonde hair and a friendly face. They seemed happy, laughing as they carried boxes inside. For a moment, Lily felt a pang of something. It wasn't exactly envy, nor anger. It was a strange feeling, as if she were observing a world she no longer belonged to. "Lily?" Mrs. Davis's voice brought her back to reality. "Do you want to take anything else?" Lily looked around the room one last time. Her eyes landed on a photograph on her bedside table, her with her parents at the park, all of them smiling, happy. Carefully, she picked up the photo and clutched it to her chest, along with Mr. Snuggles. "This," she said softly, "I want to take this." Mrs. Davis nodded, a look of understanding in her eyes. "Of course, sweetie. Come on, it's time to go." As they walked down the stairs, Lily stopped abruptly. "Wait," she said, running back to the kitchen. There, hanging on the refrigerator with colorful magnets, was a drawing she had made the week before the accident. It was a simple, childish picture, 3 stick figures representing her and her parents, all holding hands, with a big smiling sun in the corner. Carefully, Lily removed the drawing and folded it, placing it in the pocket of her dress. It was a tangible reminder of the life she had lost, a piece of paper that carried the weight of an entire world. Back in the living room, Lily took one last look around. Every corner of the house seemed to scream memories. The spot where her father twirled her in the air, pretending she was an airplane. The corner where her mother taught her to dance. The mark on the wall where they measured her height every month. "Goodbye, house," Lily whispered, silent tears streaming down her cheeks. As they walked out, Lily saw the new couple again. The woman noticed Lily and waved with a kind smile. Lily hesitated for a moment before waving back shyly. In the car, Lily settled into the back seat, Mr. Snuggles firmly in her arms, the photograph and drawing safe in her pocket. As Mrs. Davis started the car, Lily looked out the window at her house one last time. For a brief moment, she could almost see her parents on the porch, waving to her as they did every morning when she left for school. But then she blinked, and the illusion vanished. "Where are we going now?" Lily asked softly, almost afraid of the answer. Mrs. Davis looked at her through the rearview mirror, her eyes filled with a compassion Lily didn't fully understand. "Down to a safe place, Lily. A place where they'll take care of you until we figure out what to do long term." Lily didn't quite grasp what that meant, but she nodded anyway. As the car pulled away from her street, carrying her toward an uncertain future, Lily clung to her precious mementos. Mr. Snuggles, the photograph, the drawing. They were anchors in a world that suddenly seemed too big, too scary. Lily closed her eyes, wishing that when she opened them again, everything would be as it was before. But deep down, she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The house of lost teddy bears faded into the distance, and with it, the life Lily knew. What lay ahead was a mystery, an unknown path she would have to walk alone, with only her memories and her faithful Mr. Snuggles as companions. The temporary shelter was a strange place for Lily. The beige walls seemed to absorb all joy, and the smell of disinfectant made her nose itch. It had been a week since she left her home, and each day seemed to drag on like an eternity. Lily was sitting on her narrow bed. Mr. Snuggles clutched tightly to her chest when Mrs. Davis entered the room. The social worker had a hesitant smile on her face, the kind adults wore when they were about to say something they thought a child wouldn't want to hear. "Lily, honey," Mrs. Davis began, sitting on the edge of the bed, "we have some visitors for you today. Do you remember the new neighbors you saw when we went to your house?" Lily nodded slowly, her large blue eyes filled with curiosity and apprehension. She vaguely remembered the smiling couple moving into the house next door. "Well, they came to meet you. Their names are Claire and Thomas Miller. Would you like to say hello?" Lily squeezed Mr. Snuggles tighter, burying part of her face in the teddy bear's soft fur. After a moment, she nodded again, almost imperceptibly. Mrs. Davis smiled encouragingly and extended her hand. "Come on then. They're waiting in the visiting room." With hesitant steps, Lily followed Mrs. Davis down the hallway to a brightly lit room. There, sitting on a worn sofa, were the Millers. The tall, thin man Lily remembered seeing carrying boxes, and the blonde-haired woman with the kind smile. As they entered the room, the Millers stood up, their faces lighting up at the sight of Lily. The girl immediately hid behind Mrs. Davis's legs, only her eyes and the top of Mr. Snuggles' head visible. "Hello, Lily," said the woman, Claire, her voice as soft as velvet. She knelt down to Lily's level. "It's so nice to meet you. I'm Claire, and this is my husband, Thomas." Thomas nodded, his smile gentle and his eyes kind. "Hi, Lily. That's a very handsome teddy bear you have there." Lily looked at Mr. Snuggles and then back at the Millers, still without saying a word. "Why don't we all sit down?" Mrs. Davis suggested, guiding Lily to an armchair. Lily settled into the armchair, which was much too big for her, her little legs dangling without reaching the floor. She observed the Millers with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "Lily," Claire began, her voice full of warmth, "we live next door to your old house now. We really wanted to meet you and see if we could help in any way." Thomas nodded, adding, "We know you've been through something very difficult, and we'd like to be your friends if you'll let us." Lily blinked, processing the words. Friends. She had friends at school, but adults wanting to be her friends, that was new. "Did you know my mommy and daddy?" Lily asked softly, speaking for the first time. Claire and Thomas exchanged a sad look before Claire answered, "No, honey. Unfortunately, we didn't have the chance to meet them, but we're sure they were wonderful people, just like you." Lily nodded, hugging Mr. Snuggles tighter. "They were the best," she whispered. There was a moment of poignant silence in the room, broken only when Thomas cleared his throat softly. "Lily," he said gently, "Claire and well, we can't have children of our own." Lily looked at them, confused. "Why?" Claire smiled sadly. "Sometimes people's bodies don't work exactly the way they should. Mine can't grow babies inside it." "Oh," Lily said, trying to understand. "That's sad." "Yes, it is a little sad," Claire agreed. "But you know what? It made us realize that there are many children in the world who need love and a home. Children like you, Lily." Lily's eyes widened at this information. She looked at Mrs. Davis, who was watching the scene with a carefully neutral expression. "What Claire means, Lily," Mrs. Davis explained gently, "is that the Millers are interested in taking care of you, if you'd like." Lily was silent for a long moment, her young brain trying to process all of this. Finally, she asked, "What if I don't want to?" Mrs. Davis sighed, exchanging a look with the Millers before answering, "Well, in that case, there's a place called an orphanage. It's a place where many children who don't have parents live together." "Like a big school?" Lily asked, her voice trembling slightly. "A little bit," Mrs. Davis replied. "But you would live there all the time, not just during the day." Lily felt a lump form in her throat. The idea of going to a strange place, far from everything she knew, terrified her. Noticing the fear in Lily's eyes, Claire moved to sit on the edge of the armchair. Carefully, she reached out, offering her hand to Lily. "Lily, honey," she said softly, "we know that nothing can replace your parents. We're not trying to do that. But if you want, we would love to take care of you, to give you a home filled with love." Lily looked at Claire's outstretched hand, then at Thomas's kind face, and back at Mrs. Davis. Slowly, hesitantly, she placed her small hand in Claire's. "Can I bring Mr. Snuggles?" she asked in a whisper. Claire smiled, tears welling up in her eyes. "Of course you can, sweetie. Mr. Snuggles will be more than welcome in our home." Thomas came closer, kneeling beside Claire. "And you know what, Lily? Our house has an extra room that would make a great princess room. Maybe you can help us decorate it." For the first time since the accident, a small smile appeared on Lily's face. It was shy and hesitant, but it was there. "Can I paint the walls pink?" she asked, her voice a little stronger. Claire and Thomas chuckled softly. "We can discuss any color you like," Thomas promised. Mrs. Davis watched the scene with a mixture of relief and emotion. She knew the road ahead would still be difficult for Lily, but seeing the girl starting to open up to the Millers gave her hope. "So, Lily," Mrs. Davis asked gently, "what do you think? Would you like to give the Millers a try?" Lily looked at Mr. Snuggles, as if seeking advice from her faithful friend. After a moment, she looked back at Claire and Thomas, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. "I think so," she said softly. But do you promise you won't leave me like Mommy and Daddy did?" Everyone's heart in the room seemed to break a little at those words. Claire pulled Lily into a gentle hug, tears streaming down her face. "Oh, Lily," she whispered, "we promise to do everything we can to keep you safe and loved, always." And so, in that simple room of a temporary shelter, the first threads of a new family began to intertwine. For Lily, it was the first hesitant step toward a future that, though still frightening and uncertain, now held a glimmer of hope. The morning sun filtered through the thin curtains of the temporary shelter, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Lily sat on the edge of her bed, Mr. Snuggles clutched tightly to her chest as she watched Mrs. Davis carefully fold her few clothes and place them in a small suitcase. "Ready, sweetie?" Mrs. Davis asked gently, closing the suitcase with a soft click. Lily nodded silently, her large blue eyes reflecting a mixture of anxiety and hope. It had only been 2 days since she met the Millers, and now she was about to go live with them. Temporarily, Mrs. Davis had emphasized, but to Lily, even the concept of temporary had felt like an eternity. A soft knock on the door announced the arrival of Claire and Thomas Miller. They entered the room, their faces lit up with warm smiles. "Good morning, Lily," Claire said softly, kneeling down to the girl's level. "Are you excited to come with us?" Lily looked at Claire, then at Thomas, and back at Mrs. Davis before answering with a small nod. "Can I take all my things?" she asked softly. Thomas smiled gently. "Of course you can, Princess. Anything that's important to you is important to us too." Carefully, Lily picked up the photograph of her parents and the drawing she had brought from home, holding them along with Mr. Snuggles. These were her most precious treasures, the only things that connected her to the life she had lost. Mrs. Davis picked up the small suitcase, and together they left the shelter. The Miller's car was waiting at the curb, gleaming under the morning sun. As Thomas placed the suitcase in the trunk, Claire helped Lily settle into the back seat, making sure she was comfortable and safe. The drive back to Lily's familiar neighborhood was silent. The girl looked out the window, watching the streets and buildings pass by in a blur. Her heart skipped a beat when she recognized her street, and silent tears streamed down her cheeks as they passed by her old house. Finally, the car stopped in front of the Miller's house. It was a pretty house, made of red brick like her old one, with colorful flowers adorning the front garden. Lily felt a pang of longing when she saw the daisies, her mother's favorites. "Welcome to your new home, Lily," Thomas said softly, opening the car door for her. Lily stepped out hesitantly, still clutching Mr. Snuggles and her treasures. Claire extended her hand, offering support, and after a moment of hesitation, Lily accepted it. Together, they walked to the front door. Thomas opened it with a theatrical flourish, making Lily smile shyly. "Mademoiselle," he said with an exaggerated bow, "your castle awaits." The interior of the house was cozy and bright. Lily looked around with curious eyes, taking in every detail. The walls were a soft yellow, giving the impression of a perpetual sunny day. Photos of the Millers smiling on various trips adorned the walls, along with colorful landscape paintings. "Would you like to see your room, Lily?" Claire asked gently. Lily nodded, following Claire and Thomas upstairs. They stopped in front of a white door, decorated with a small sign that read, "Princess Lily's Room," in colorful, glittery letters. "We made this for you," Thomas explained, looking a little nervous. "We hope you don't mind." Lily touched the letters of her name with her fingertips, a small smile playing on her lips. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Claire opened the door, revealing a spacious and cheerful room. The walls were a soft shade of lavender, and a large window let in plenty of natural light. A comfortable bed with a floral bedspread occupied one corner, and a bookshelf filled with books and toys occupied another. In the center of the room, there was a small table with art supplies scattered on it. "We know you like to draw," Claire explained. "We thought you might like to have your own space to create." Lily's eyes widened at the sight of all this. It was beautiful, cozy, and clearly prepared with a lot of love. But at the same time, it wasn't her room. It wasn't the place where she had grown up, where her parents had tucked her in every night. Sensing Lily's hesitation, Thomas knelt beside her. "Lily," he said softly, "we know this isn't your real room. We know nothing can replace your home or your parents. But we hope that in time you can feel comfortable here, and you can decorate it however you like, okay? This space is yours." Lily looked at Thomas, then at Claire, who had tears in her eyes, and finally at Mrs. Davis, who was watching the scene from the doorway with an encouraging smile. Slowly, Lily walked over to the bed and placed Mr. Snuggles on the pillow. Carefully, she picked up the photograph of her parents and placed it on the nightstand. The drawing she had made found its place on the wall, secured with colorful tape that Claire quickly offered. Can I be alone for a little while?" Lily asked timidly. "Of course, my sweetie," Claire replied. "We'll be downstairs when you're ready. Take all the time you need." The adults left quietly, closing the door behind them. Lily stood in the middle of the room for a long moment, taking it all in. Then, slowly, she walked over to the window. From there, she could see the roof of her old house. The tears she had been holding back began to fall freely. Lily rested her forehead against the cool glass, letting the sadness she had suppressed for so long finally surface. "Mommy, Daddy, she sobbed softly. I miss you so much. Please don't be mad at me for being here. I wish you were with me. For several minutes, Lily cried silently, letting out all the confusion, fear, and sadness that had accumulated since the accident. When the tears finally subsided, she felt strangely lighter. Turning around, she looked at the room again. It wasn't her room, but it was a safe place. The Millers had gone out of their way to make her feel welcome. Maybe, just maybe, she could give this new place a chance. Lily picked up Mr. Snuggles and hugged him tight. We'll be okay, won't we, Mr. Snuggles, she whispered to the teddy bear. Mommy and Daddy would want us to be strong. With one last look at the photo of her parents, Lily took a deep breath and walked towards the door. It was time to face her new reality, however daunting it might be. And as she walked down the stairs to join the Millers, Lily felt a small spark of hope ignite in her heart. This wasn't the life she knew nor the one she wanted, but maybe, with time, it could become a good life, a life filled with new memories, new smiles, and, who knows, even a new kind of love. The morning sun danced through the lace curtains, creating intricate patterns on the floor of Lily's room. The girl opened her eyes slowly, momentarily confused by the unfamiliar surroundings. Then the memories of the past few days came flooding back, and she hugged Mr. Snuggles tighter. Good morning, Mr. Snuggles, Lily whispered to her faithful companion. Shall we explore our new house today? With quiet steps, Lily got out of bed and opened the bedroom door. The hallway was quiet, but she could hear soft sounds coming from downstairs. Curious, she made her way down the stairs, following the tempting aroma of fresh coffee and something sweet in the air. In the kitchen, she found Claire preparing breakfast. The woman smiled warmly when she saw Lily. Good morning, sweetie, Claire greeted. Did you sleep well? Lily nodded shyly. The bed is soft, she replied in a low voice. That's good. Are you hungry? I made pancakes. Lily's eyes lit up a little. Pancakes were her favorite Sunday breakfast with her parents. For a moment, the memory brought a pang of sadness, but the delicious smell brought her back to the present. After breakfast, Lily asked permission to explore the house. Claire smiled, Tars encouraging her. Of course, honey. This is your home now, too. Feel free to look around. If you need anything, I'll be here in the kitchen. Lily began her exploration in the living room. There were bookshelves filled with books, some with titles she recognized from the stories her father used to read to her. On a small table, she found a photo album. Curious, she opened it, seeing pictures of the Millers in different parts of the world. On the wall, a large world map caught her attention. Small, colorful pins marked various locations. Lily wondered what places those were and what stories they held. Moving into the hallway, Lily noticed several doors. Most were open, a bathroom here, an office there, but one door at the end of the hallway was closed. Lily approached, her curiosity piqued. She tried the doorknob sill, but it was locked. What could be in there? She murmured to herself, her imagination running wild. Maybe it was a secret room filled with treasures, or a passage to a magical world, like in the books her father used to read to her. Deciding to leave the mystery for later, Lily continued her exploration. Upstairs, besides her own room, there was the Miller's bedroom and a small attic filled with boxes and old objects. Returning to the kitchen, Lily found Claire wiping the counter. Find anything interesting? Claire asked with a smile. Lily hesitated for a moment before asking, What's in the locked door in the hallway? A fleeting shadow crossed Claire's face, so quick that Lily almost didn't notice. Oh, that's just a storage room, Claire replied, her tone slightly strained. Nothing very interesting in there. Before Lily could question further, Claire changed the subject. How about we make some cookies? Would you like to help me? Lily's face lit up at the idea. She used to help her mother make cookies, and the prospect of repeating this familiar activity cheered her up. Claire gathered the ingredients while Lily climbed onto a stool to reach the counter. Patiently, Claire guided Lily through the process of mixing the dough, explaining each step. Now, the secret to perfect cookies, Claire said in a conspiratorial tone, is to add a little bit of love to each one. Lily giggled, remembering her mother saying something similar. For a while, the two worked in comfortable silence, cutting the dough into star and heart shapes. While the cookies baked, filling the house with a delicious aroma, the doorbell rang. Claire went to answer it, returning moments later with an elderly woman. "Lily, I want you to meet our neighbor, Mrs. Peterson," Claire introduced. Mrs. Peterson was a small, delicate woman, with snow-white hair and bright blue eyes that seemed filled with secrets and stories. She smiled kindly at Lily. "So this is little Lily," Mrs. Peterson said, her voice soft and melodious. "It's a pleasure to meet you, dear." Lily, normally shy with strangers, felt immediately at ease with Mrs. Peterson. There was something about the elderly woman's presence that reminded Lily of her grandmother, who had passed away a few years earlier. "Mrs. Peterson lives next door," Claire explained. "She's a wonderful storyteller." Lily's eyes widened with interest. "What kind of stories?" she asked, her voice a little more animated than usual. Mrs. Peterson smiled, her eyes twinkling. "Oh, all kinds of stories, dear. Fairy tales, ancient legends, and even some adventures from my own life." "You've had adventures?" Lily asked, fascinated. Mrs. Peterson chuckled softly. "More than you can imagine, dear. Maybe one day I'll tell you about the time—" She paused, looking at Claire with a knowing smile. "Well, those are stories for another day." The oven timer dinged, announcing that the cookies were ready. Claire took them out of the oven, the sweet aroma filling the kitchen. "Why don't we take some cookies out to the porch?" Claire suggested. "It's a beautiful day outside." The four of them settled on the sunny porch, Lily sitting between Claire and Mrs. Peterson, Mr. Snuggles in her lap. As they savored the still warm cookies, Mrs. Peterson began to tell a story about a brave princess who saved her kingdom from a dragon. Lily listened, enchanted, occasionally asking questions or making comments. For a moment, she almost forgot her sadness, lost in the magical world created by Mrs. Peterson's words. When the story ended, Lily looked at Claire and then at Mrs. Peterson, a small smile playing on her lips. "Can I hear more stories later?" she asked timidly. "Of course, dear," Mrs. Peterson replied, patting Lily's hand gently. "I have many more to tell." At that moment, sitting on the porch with the warm sun on her face, the sweet taste of cookies on her tongue, and the promise of more stories, Lily felt a small spark of happiness. It was a fragile feeling, mingled with the still present pain of losing her parents, but it was there. As the day wore on, Lily began to realize that although her life had changed drastically, there might still be room for new adventures, new friendships, and, who knows, even a new kind of family. Night fell softly over the miller's house, enveloping it in shadows and silence. Lily lay in her new bed, Mr. Snuggles clutched tightly to her chest. Despite the comfort of the room and the exhaustion of the day, sleep stubbornly refused to come. The sounds of the house at night were different from what she was used to. There wasn't the familiar creak of the stairs that her father always promised to fix, nor the soft hum of the old refrigerator. Instead, there were new noises, the distant clinking of dishes being put away, the whisper of the wind in the garden trees, and voices. Lily sat up in bed, straining her ears. Yes, they were definitely voices, low and muffled, but unmistakable. Curious, she slipped out of bed, her bare feet making barely a sound on the wooden floor. Carefully, Lily opened her bedroom door and peeked into the hallway. The faint light coming from the staircase indicated that the Millers were still awake downstairs. Silently, she crept to the top of the stairs, crouching down to listen better. "We can't tell her yet, Thomas," Claire's voice reached Lily's ears, tense and worried. "She's been through so much already." "I know, honey," Thomas replied with a sigh. "But the longer we wait, the harder it will be. What if she finds out on her own?" "She's only 5, Claire argued. "How could she?" The rest of the sentence was lost as Lily shifted, causing the floorboards to creak beneath her feet. She froze, her heart pounding. The voices downstairs stopped abruptly. "Lily?" Claire's voice called out. "Are you awake, sweetie?" Caught off guard, Lily hesitated for a moment before answering timidly, "Yes, I was thirsty." There was a brief silence, then the sound of footsteps ascending the stairs. Claire appeared, a gentle smile on her face, although Lily could see a shadow of concern in her eyes. "Let's get you a glass of water, then," Claire said softly, extending her hand to Lily. As they descended the stairs, Lily couldn't help but notice the meaningful look Claire and Thomas exchanged. What were they hiding, and why couldn't they tell her? After drinking the water, Lily was tucked back into bed, but sleep remained elusive. Her mind raced with questions and theories about what the Millers' big secret could be. Unable to lie still, Lily decided to investigate. She knew exactly where to start: the mysterious door at the end of the hallway. Silently, Lily slipped out of bed once more and crept down the hallway. The closed door seemed even more mysterious in the dark. Reaching it, she stretched out her hand towards the doorknob, standing on tiptoe. To her frustration, even stretching as high as she could, her fingers barely grazed the bottom of the doorknob. Lily frowned, determined. She looked around, searching for something she could use as a step stool. Before she could find a solution, a noise from the Miller's bedroom startled her. Quickly, Lily scurried back to her room, jumping into bed and feigning sleep, her heart beating rapidly. Minutes passed, and nothing happened. Slowly, the adrenaline from her near discovery began to subside, and tiredness finally started to take over. But just as Lily began to drift off, the images started. In her dream, she was back in the car with her parents. The sunny day, the promise of a picnic, the joy in her heart. Then the horrific sound of twisting metal, the spinning world, the deafening silence that followed. "Mommy, Daddy!" Lily cried out, sitting up abruptly in bed, tears streaming down her face. Within seconds, the bedroom door flew open, and Claire and Thomas rushed in. Claire immediately sat on the bed, pulling Lily into her arms. "Shh, it's okay, sweetie," Claire whispered, rocking Lily gently. "It was just a bad dream. You're safe." Thomas sat on the other side of the bed, his large, comforting hand on Lily's back. "We're here, princess," he said softly. "Nothing's going to hurt you." Lily sobbed against Claire's shoulder, her small hands clutching the woman's pajamas. I saw the accident," she managed to say between sobs. "Mommy and Daddy, they weren't answering." Claire and Thomas exchanged a pained look over Lily's head. Thomas moved closer, enveloping both Lily and Claire in a hug. "Oh, Lily," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry you have to go through this. I know nothing can replace your parents, but we want you to know that we're here for you. Always." Lily continued crying for a long time, letting out all the pain and fear she had been holding inside. Claire and Thomas stayed with her the entire time, offering words of comfort and simply being present. When Lily's sobs finally subsided, Claire gently brushed the tear-dampened hair away from her face. "Do you want us to stay here until you fall asleep?" she asked softly. Lily nodded, still clinging to Claire. Thomas got up and retrieved Mr. Snuggles from the floor, where he had fallen during the nightmare. He handed him to Lily, who hugged him tightly. "Thank you," Lily whispered, her voice hoarse from crying. Claire kissed the top of Lily's head. "You don't have to thank us, sweetie. We're here to take care of you." Slowly, lulled by the warmth and comfort of the Millers, Lily began to drift off to sleep. Her last thoughts before falling asleep were hazy, a mixture of longing for her parents, gratitude for the Millers, and still, deep down, a flicker of curiosity about what they might be hiding. But for now, surrounded by care and protection, the secrets could wait. Lily fell asleep, feeling, for the first time since the accident, truly safe. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows of the Miller's house, creating golden patterns on the hallway floor. Lily walked silently. Mr. Snuggles clutched tightly to her chest. Her curious eyes kept glancing towards the mysterious door at the end of the hallway. For days, she had been trying to figure out what was behind that always closed door. The whispered conversations she had overheard at night only fueled her curiosity. What were the Millers hiding? As Lily approached the door, something unusual caught her attention. A sliver of light escaped from under the door. Her heart quickened. Could this finally be her chance to unravel the mystery? With hesitant steps, she drew closer. To her surprise and excitement, the door was slightly ajar. Lily looked both ways down the hallway, making sure she was alone. Then, summoning all her courage, she gently pushed the door open. The room was illuminated by sunlight streaming in through a large window. Unlike what Lily had imagined, there were no hidden treasures or secret passages. Instead, what she saw left her speechless. The walls were covered with photographs and newspaper clippings. Many of the photos showed her parents, her mother smiling in a park, her father standing in front of a building Lily didn't recognize. There were also photos of places and people she didn't know. In the center of the room, a large table was covered with papers, folders, and an open laptop. Lily approached, her eyes wide as she tried to take in everything she was seeing. She picked up one of the photos from the table. It was a picture of her parents with a man she didn't know. They all looked serious, almost worried. On the back of the photo, there was a date and a handwritten sentence. Last meeting before the accident. Lily felt a lump form in her throat. The accident. The day that changed everything. Why did the Millers have a photo from that day? She continued exploring, picking up documents she couldn't understand. Words like an investigation, evidence, and a suspect jumped out from the pages, but their meaning escaped Lily's comprehension. Suddenly, a creak of the door made Lily spin around quickly. Thomas stood in the doorway, his face a mixture of surprise and concern. "Lily," he said softly, stepping into the room. "What are you doing here, princess?" Lily felt panic rising in her chest. She had been caught, her hands tightened around Mr. Snuggles. I just wanted to see what was in here," she murmured, her eyes fixed on the floor. Thomas approached slowly, kneeling down to Lily's level. "I understand your curiosity," he said gently. "But there are things in here that are too complicated to explain right now." Lily looked up at Thomas, her eyes filled with confusion and fear. "Why do you have pictures of Mommy and Daddy?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "What happened to them?" Thomas sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. "Lily, what happened to your parents? Well, it might not have been a simple accident. Claire and we're trying to find out the truth. We're trying to help." Thomas's words swirled in Lily's head. Not an accident? What did that mean? Her 5-year-old mind struggled to comprehend. Did you know about my parents before?" Lily asked, tears starting to well up in her eyes. Thomas hesitated for a moment before answering. Not exactly, but before he could finish, Lily felt a wave of fear and confusion wash over her. Without thinking, she bolted out of the room past Thomas. "Lily, wait," Thomas called, but she was already running down the stairs. Lily ran out the front door, her bare feet hitting the cold concrete of the sidewalk. Tears blurred her vision as she ran, not really knowing where she was going. Almost instinctively, she found herself in front of Mrs. Peterson's house. Without hesitation, Lily pounded on the door, sobbing. The door opened, revealing Mrs. Peterson's worried face. "Lily, honey, what happened?" Lily threw herself into Mrs. Peterson's arms, crying uncontrollably. They knew. Pictures. Mommy and Daddy. Mrs. Peterson held Lily tightly, leading her inside the house. She sat Lily down on a soft armchair, kneeling in front of her. "Take a deep breath, sweetie, Mrs. Peterson said softly, wiping Lily's tears with a tissue. "Now, tell me what happened." Between sobs, Lily told Mrs. Peterson about the mysterious room, the pictures of her parents, and what Thomas had said. Mrs. Peterson listened attentively, her face a mask of compassion and concern. "Oh, Lily," Mrs. Peterson sighed when the girl finished her story. "Fine, that must have been very frightening for you." Lily nodded, clutching Mr. Snuggles. "Why do they have those things? Why didn't they tell me?" Mrs. Peterson took Lily's hands in hers. "Sometimes, adults think they're protecting children by hiding difficult things, but I see that it only made you more scared and confused." At that moment, the doorbell rang. Mrs. Peterson got up to answer it, and Lily heard the worried voices of Claire and Thomas at the entrance. "She's here," Mrs. Peterson told them. "She's scared and confused. I think you all need to talk." Lily shrank back in the armchair as the Millers entered the room. Claire immediately rushed to her, tears in her eyes. "Oh, Lily, we were so worried," Claire said, kneeling beside the armchair. "I'm so sorry you found out this way. We just wanted to protect you." Thomas joined them, his face filled with remorse. "Lily, I know you must be confused and scared. I promise we'll explain everything as best we can. You deserve to know the truth." Lily looked at the Millers, then at Mrs. Peterson, who nodded encouragingly. With a small sigh, Lily sat up straighter in the armchair. "Okay," she said softly. "I want to know." And so, in that cozy room, with Mrs. Peterson as a comforting presence, the Millers began to unravel the mystery they had kept hidden for so long. For Lily, it was the beginning of a journey that would change her understanding of the past and shape her future in ways she couldn't yet imagine. The gentle aroma of chamomile tea filled Mrs. Peterson's cozy living room. Lily was curled up on the soft sofa, wrapped in a fluffy blanket. Mr. Snuggles clutched tightly in her arms. Her eyes, still red from crying, followed Mrs. Peterson's movements as she moved around the room with a grace that seemed to belie her advanced age. Mrs. Peterson sat down next to Lily, offering her a cup of tea with a gentle smile. "Here you go, dear. This will help you calm down." Lily accepted the cup with trembling hands, blowing gently on the steaming surface before taking a small sip. The warmth and soothing flavor seemed to calm her slightly. "You know, Lily," Mrs. Peterson began, her voice soft and melodious, "sometimes life presents us with challenges that seem too big to face alone. In those moments, it's important to remember that we're not always as alone as we think." Lily looked at Mrs. Peterson, curiosity replacing some of the fear in her eyes. "What do you mean, Mrs. Peterson?" Mrs. Peterson smiled, her eyes twinkling with ancient wisdom. "Let me tell you a story, sweetie. A story about guardian angels in disguise." Lily settled back into the sofa, pulling the blanket closer. She always loved Mrs. Peterson's stories, and at that moment she desperately needed something to distract her confused mind. "And a long time ago," as Mrs. Peterson began, "there lived a little princess in a faraway kingdom. She was loved by everyone, especially by her parents, the king and queen. But one day, a terrible storm struck the kingdom, and the princess found herself alone and afraid." Lily listened intently, subconsciously relating the story to her own situation. Now the princess wandered through the kingdom, searching for help. Mrs. Peterson continued. "That's when she encountered two strangers. At first, she was scared because she didn't know them, but she soon realized they were there to help her." "Who were they?" Lily asked, her voice barely a whisper. Mrs. Peterson smiled. "They were guardian angels, sweetie. But they didn't have wings or halos. They looked like ordinary people, but their hearts were filled with love and a desire to protect the princess." Lily frowned, thoughtful. How did the princess know she could trust them? "Ah, that's the most important part of the story," Mrs. Peterson said, leaning in a little closer. "The princess didn't know immediately. Trust, Lily, is something that grows over time. The guardian angels showed their love through small acts of kindness, patience, and care." At that moment, the sound of the doorbell interrupted the story. Mrs. Peterson got up to answer it, and Lily heard worried voices at the entrance. It was the Millers. "She's here," Lily heard Mrs. Peterson say. "And she's scared, but she's safe." Claire and Thomas entered the room, their faces a mixture of relief and concern. Upon seeing Lily, Claire rushed to the sofa, kneeling beside her. "Oh, Lily," Claire said, tears in her eyes. "We were so worried. Are you okay?" Thomas joined them, his large hand gently stroking Lily's hair. "I'm so sorry we scared you, Princess." "It wasn't our intention." Lily looked at the Millers, then at Mrs. Peterson, who was watching the scene with a knowing smile. Suddenly, Mrs. Peterson's words about guardian angels echoed in her mind. Are you like the angels in Mrs. Peterson's story?" Lily asked timidly. Claire and Thomas exchanged confused glances, but Mrs. Peterson intervened softly. "Lily, dear," she said, "remember what I said about guardian angels. They don't always appear as we expect, but they are there to protect and love us." Lily looked at the Millers again, really seeing them for the first time since discovering the mysterious room. She saw the love and concern in their eyes, the way Claire held her hand gently, how Thomas seemed to want to envelop her in a protective hug. Are you trying to protect me?" Lily asked, her voice small but curious. Thomas nodded, his face serious. "Yes, Lily, that's exactly what we're trying to do. We know it must be confusing and scary, But everything we do is because we care deeply about you, Claire added softly. We wanted to wait until you were ready to understand, but we see now that we should have been more honest from the beginning. Lily absorbed their words, her young heart struggling to process everything. It was then that her eyes fell upon a photograph on Mrs. Peterson's bookshelf. It was an old picture, yellowed with age, but the face in the photo was unmistakable. It was Mrs. Peterson, much younger, but undeniably her. And next to Mrs. Peterson in the photo was a woman Lily recognized instantly, her grandmother, who had passed away years before. Lily blinked, looking back at Mrs. Peterson with newfound curiosity. The resemblances she hadn't noticed before suddenly became clear, the shape of their eyes, the gentle smile, even the way Mrs. Peterson tilted her head when she was thinking. Mrs. Peterson, Lily began hesitantly, Did you know my grandma? A silence fell over the room. Mrs. Peterson looked at the Millers, who seemed just as surprised as Lily. Then, with a soft sigh, Mrs. Peterson sat down next to Lily, taking her small hands in hers. Oh, sweetie, Mrs. Peterson said, her voice filled with emotion. There's much more to tell than just a story about guardian angels. Perhaps it's time to share a true story, the story of our family. Lily felt her heart quicken. Our family. What did Mrs. Peterson mean by that? As she prepared to hear what Mrs. Peterson had to say, Lily realized she was about to discover much more than just the mystery of the closed room. She was about to uncover the truth about her own past. The silence in Mrs. Peterson's living room was palpable, broken only by the soft ticking of the old clock in the corner. Lily, still wrapped in her blanket, looked expectantly at Mrs. Peterson, her large eyes filled with curiosity and a touch of apprehension. The Millers remained close, their expressions a mixture of concern and intrigue. Mrs. Peterson took a deep breath, her eyes lost in distant memories. Lily, dear, she began, her voice soft but firm, there's a lot you need to know about your family, about your mother, and about me. Lily leaned forward, Mr. Snuggles clutched tightly to her chest. Did you know my mom when she was little? A nostalgic smile lit up Mrs. Peterson's face. Oh, yes, dear. I knew your mother from the day she was born. She was a lovely little girl, full of life and curiosity, much like you. Mrs. Peterson began to tell stories of Lily's mother's childhood. She spoke of how she loved climbing trees, always coming home with scraped knees and a radiant smile. She described her first day of school, the blue dress she insisted on wearing, and how she cried when she had to take off her muddy shoes. Lily listened, fascinated, each word painting a vivid picture of a mother she had barely had time to know. How do you know all this, Mrs. Peterson? She asked, marveling. Mrs. Peterson exchanged a quick glance with the Millers before answering, Well, Lily, I was there for all those moments. I was a very important part of your mother's life. Claire and Thomas shifted uncomfortably in their seats, noticing the deep connection forming between Mrs. Peterson and Lily. Thomas cleared his throat softly. Anne, maybe we should... But Mrs. Peterson raised a hand, gently silencing him. No, Thomas, Lily deserves to know the truth. We've all hidden things for too long. Lily looked from Mrs. Peterson to the Millers, sensing that she was on the verge of an important revelation. What truth? What are you hiding? Mrs. Peterson sighed, her eyes filling with tears. Lily, dear, I'm not just a neighbor or a family friend. I'm your grandmother. The room fell completely silent for a moment. Lily blinked, trying to process the information. My grandmother, but I thought my grandmother died a long time ago. It's a complicated story, sweetie, Mrs. Peterson said softly. A story of love, fear, and difficult choices. But before we get into the details, there's something I want to show you. Mrs. Peterson stood up slowly, her movements deliberate as she walked to an old desk in the corner of the room. She opened a drawer and pulled out an envelope yellowed with age. Carefully, she returned to the sofa and handed the envelope to Lily. With trembling hands, Lily opened the envelope. Inside was an old photograph, the edges worn but the image still clear. In it, Lily saw a much younger version of Mrs. Peterson, smiling radiantly next to a handsome man. Between them, holding both their hands, was a little girl with curly hair and a familiar smile. Is that my mom?" Lily asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Mrs. Peterson nodded, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. "Yes, sweetie, your mother. At 5 years old, with your grandfather and me." Lily traced the outline of her mother's face in the photo with a trembling finger. She then looked at Mrs. Peterson, really seeing her for the first time. The similarities were undeniable, the same kind eyes, the same warm smile. "But why did you pretend not to be my grandma?" Lily asked, confusion and a hint of hurt in her voice. Mrs. Peterson closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her courage. "Oh, Lily, it's a long and complicated story. There were disagreements, secrets we thought were protecting us, but in the end, they only caused more pain." The Millers watched the scene with a mixture of emotions. Claire moved closer, placing a comforting hand on Lily's shoulder. "Lily, honey, we know this is a lot of information at once. It's okay if you need some time to process it." Lily looked at Claire, then at Thomas and back at Mrs. Peterson. Her young heart was filled with conflicting emotions, joy at discovering she had a grandmother, confusion about why this had been kept secret, and a deep sadness at the thought of her mother and everything she had lost. "Guys, I want to know more," Lily said finally, her voice small but determined. "I want to know everything about my family, about my mom, about you, Grandma Anne." The words Grandma Anne hung in the air, charged with emotion. Mrs. Peterson sobbed softly, pulling Lily into a tight hug. "Oh, sweetie, I have so much to tell you. So many stories, so many memories to share." As Lily snuggled into her newfound grandmother's arms, the Millers exchanged worried glances. They knew this revelation would change everything: their relationship with Lily, the plans they had made, the investigation they were conducting. But in that moment, seeing the palpable bond between Lily and Anne, they understood that some truths couldn't and shouldn't be hidden. The past was finally coming to light, and with it, the promise of a future different from what any of them had imagined. The silence in Anne's living room was thick, heavy with unspoken emotions and secrets about to be revealed. Lily, still clutching the old photograph, looked at Anne with a mixture of curiosity and confusion. The Millers remained quiet, tense, as if sensing that something important was about to happen. Anne took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on Lily. "Sweetie," she began, her voice trembling, "there's something very important I need to tell you. Something I should have said a long time ago." Lily leaned forward, instinctively clutching Mr. Snuggles tighter. "What is it, Grandma Anne?" Anne reached out, gently touching Lily's face. "Lily, my love, I'm not just a neighbor or a family friend. I'm your grandmother, your real grandmother." The room fell completely silent for a moment. Lily blinked, her eyebrows furrowing as she tried to process the information. My grandmother," she repeated, incredulous. Claire and Thomas exchanged looks of surprise and concern. They hadn't expected this revelation. "Yes, sweetie," Anne confirmed, tears welling up in her eyes. "I'm your mother's mother." Lily looked at the photograph in her hands, then back at Anne, her eyes wide with understanding. But why? Why didn't you tell me before? Why did you pretend to be just a neighbor?" Anne sighed deeply, the pain evident in her expression. "Oh, Lily, it's a complicated story. A story of love, fear, and mistakes. Many years ago, long before you were born, there was a big disagreement between me and your parents." "What kind of disagreement?" Lily asked, her voice small and confused. Anne thought for a moment, searching for the right words to explain to a 5-year-old. Sometimes, even when people love each other very much, they can disagree about important things. "Your mother and I had a big fight about her future. I wanted one thing for her, and she wanted something different for herself." Lily frowned, trying to understand. "Like when you want chocolate ice cream, but Mummy says you can only have vanilla." A small smile touched Anne's lips. "Something like that, sweetie, but much, much bigger. Our fight was so big that we decided to stay apart for a while. I thought it would only be for a few months, but the months turned into years." And you never saw Mommy again? Lily asked, her voice trembling. Anne shook her head sadly. I saw her a few times from a distance, but I never had the courage to approach her to apologize. And then you were born, and I found out, but I was still so afraid. Lily looked at the Millers, who seemed just as surprised as she was. Did you know about this? She asked. Claire shook her head, her voice soft. No, Lily, this is a surprise to us too. Thomas leaned forward, his expression serious. Anne, why did you decide to reveal this now? Anne looked at Thomas, then back at Lily. Because life is too precious to waste on regrets and secrets. When I heard about the accident, my heart broke. I lost my daughter without ever having the chance to make amends. And then, when I saw Lily here, so lost and scared, I knew I couldn't make the same mistake twice. Lily was silent for a long moment, her eyes fixed on the photograph. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. So, you really are my grandma? Anne nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. Yes, sweetie. And there's nothing in the world I want more than to be a part of your life if you'll let me. Lily looked at Anne, then at the Millers, and back at the photograph. Her young mind struggled to process everything. She had a grandmother, a real, live grandmother, who was right there. But there were also the Millers, who had taken care of her, who had welcomed her into their home. I don't know what to do, Lily admitted, her voice trembling. Claire moved to sit beside Lily, wrapping her in a half-hug. It's okay, honey. You don't have to decide anything right now. This is a lot to take in, Thomas nodded, adding gently. The most important thing is that you have people who love you, Lily, people who want the best for you. Anne reached out hesitantly. Lily, I know this is confusing and scary. I don't expect you to accept me as your grandmother immediately. I just want the chance to be a part of your life in whatever way you'll allow. Lily looked at Anne's outstretched hand. Slowly, hesitantly, she took it. Can you tell me more about Mommy? About when she was little? A warm smile lit up Anne's face. Oh, sweetie, I'd love to. I have so many stories to tell. The Millers watched the scene with a mixture of emotions. Joy that Lily had found a connection with her family, concern about how this would affect their own plans, and a flicker of fear about what this would mean for the future. Anne, Thomas said softly, we have a lot to discuss about what this means for Lily, for all of us. Anne nodded, her expression serious. I know, Thomas, and I promise we'll be completely honest from now on. No more secrets. Lily looked between the adults, feeling the weight of decisions yet to be made. But in that moment, embraced by Claire, holding her newfound grandmother's hand, and with Thomas as a protective presence, she felt, for the first time since the accident, truly part of a family. The future was still uncertain, full of unanswered questions and challenges to come. But there, in that room filled with love and newly revealed truths, there was hope. Hope for healing, for new beginnings, and for a family that, though unconventional, was united by love for a little girl who had lost so much, but who was now discovering that she still had much to gain. The morning sun streamed through the curtains of the Millers' house, casting a soft glow on Lily, who was sitting in bed, hugging Mr. Snuggles. Her eyes were fixed on the photograph Anne had given her, studying the smiling faces of her mother as a child and her grandparents. The revelations of the previous day still echoed in her mind, leaving her confused and emotionally exhausted. A soft knock on the door pulled her from her thoughts. Claire entered, her kind face etched with a mixture of concern and affection. Good morning, sweetie, Claire said softly, sitting on the edge of the bed. How are you feeling today? Lily shrugged, her small hands clutching the photo. I don't know, she murmured. It's all so confusing. Claire nodded understandingly. I know, honey. It's a lot to process, but know that we're all here for you, okay? Lily looked at Claire, her eyes filled with unasked questions. Mrs. Grandma Anne. Is she really my grandma? Yes, Lily, Claire confirmed gently. She's your real grandma. Then why wasn't she with me before? Why didn't she come when... Lily's voice trailed off, the memories of the accident still too painful to put into words. Claire sighed, choosing her words carefully. Sometimes Adults make mistakes, Lily. Mistakes that hurt the people we love, even unintentionally. Anne made some mistakes in the past, but now she wants to make things right. Lily was silent for a moment, absorbing Claire's words. I like her, she finally admitted. But I also like you and Uncle Thomas. I don't want to leave. Claire felt her heart clench at Lily's words. Oh, sweetie, no one's going to take you away from us if you don't want to go. Thomas and I love you like you were our own daughter. At that moment, Thomas appeared in the doorway, his face serious but kind. Lily, Anne is here. Do you think we can all talk together? Lily nodded shyly, still clutching Mr. Snuggles and the photo. Claire helped her out of bed, and together they went downstairs to the living room, where Anne was waiting, looking nervous but hopeful. Good morning, sweetie, Anne greeted softly. How are you doing? Lily looked at Anne, then at the Millers, before answering hesitantly, I'm okay, I guess. The adults exchanged worried glances before sitting down. Thomas cleared his throat softly. Lily, we know this situation is complicated. We all want what's best for you, but we need to decide how we're going to make this work. Anne leaned forward, her eyes fixed on Lily. Sweetie, I know I've appeared suddenly in your life, and I understand if you don't want me to be a big part of it right away. I just want you to know that I'm here, that I love you, and that I want to be a part of your life in any way you'll allow. Lily looked at Anne, then at the Millers. Her small mind worked hard to understand everything. I don't want anyone to go away, she finally said, her voice trembling. I like all of you. Claire smiled gently. No one's going anywhere, Lily. We're all here for you. Thomas nodded, adding, what we need to decide is how we're going to arrange things. Legally, Claire and I are your guardians now, but Anne is your blood grandmother. Lily frowned, confused. What does that mean? Anne explained softly. It means that if you want, I could petition to be your legal guardian. You could come live with me. Panic flashed across Lily's face. She clutched Claire's arm. But I don't want to leave. I like it here. Shh, it's okay, Claire soothed, hugging her. No one's going to force you to do anything you don't want to do. Anne looked a little sad but nodded understandingly. I understand, Lily. I don't want to take you away from a place where you feel safe and loved. There was a moment of tense silence in the room. Then Thomas spoke, his voice calm and thoughtful. What if we found a middle ground? Lily could continue living with us, but Anne would have an active role in her life. Irregular visits, weekends together, that sort of thing. Lily's eyes lit up at this idea. Can I do that? Can I stay here and still see Grandma Anne? Claire smiled, relieved. Of course you can, sweetie. If that's what you want, we can make it work. Anne looked touched. I would love that. Being a part of your life, Lily, in any way, means the world to me. Lily looked at each of the adults, a small smile forming on her face. So, can I have 2 homes? And 3 people to take care of me? Thomas chuckled softly. It seems so, Princess. You'll have plenty of people loving and caring for you. Actually, Claire added, exchanging a meaningful look with Thomas, there's something else we wanted to discuss. Thomas and I were thinking about officially adopting you. Lily, making you legally our daughter. Of course, that wouldn't change anything about your relationship with Anne or your memories of your birth parents. Lily's eyes widened. You want to be my new parents? Anne intervened gently. Lily, this doesn't mean forgetting or replacing your parents. It means having more people to love and care for you. Lily was silent for a moment, processing everything. Then slowly, a genuine smile, the first in a long time, spread across her face. I would like that, she said softly. Can I have new parents and a grandma? The adults exchanged teary-eyed glances. Claire pulled Lily into a tight hug. Of course you can, sweetie. You can have all of that and more. Thomas joined the hug, and after a moment of hesitation, Anne did too. There, in that collective embrace, a new family was forming, an unconventional family, born from tragedy, but united by love for a little girl who had lost so much. As she snuggled into the hug, Lily felt, for the first time since the accident, a true sense of belonging. She still missed her parents. There was still pain and confusion, but now there was also hope. Hope for a future filled with love, with memories both new and old, and with a family that, though different from what she had imagined, was exactly what she needed. The lawyer's office was quiet, except for the soft scratching of a pen on paper. Lily swung her legs, sitting between Claire and Thomas, while Anne watched closely. The lawyer, a kind, middle-aged man named Mr. Thompson, smiled at Lily as he finalized the documents. "Well, Lily," he said, his voice warm, "it seems everything is in order. The Millers are now officially your legal guardians." Lily looked at Claire and Thomas, a small smile playing on her lips. "Does that mean you're my new parents now?" Claire stroked Lily's hair gently. "Yes, sweetie, legally, we're your family now," Thomas added, his voice thick with emotion. "But remember, Lily, this doesn't replace your birth parents. They'll always be an important part of you and your story." Lily nodded solemnly, her eyes turning to Anne. "And Grandma Anne?" Mr. Thompson smiled. "Well, we have another document here that officially recognizes Mrs. Peterson as your biological grandmother, with regular visitation rights. This means she'll be an important and legal part of your life too." Anne wiped away a tear, smiling at Lily. "That means, sweetie, we can spend lots of time together, whenever you want." Lily beamed, a genuine smile that lit up the entire room. It was the first time in months that she had felt truly happy and secure. When they left the office, the summer sun greeted them warmly. Lily held Claire and Thomas's hands, with Anne walking beside them. "Well," Thomas said, his voice cheerful, "I think this calls for a celebration. How about some ice cream?" Lily's eyes lit up. "Can I have chocolate and strawberry?" Claire laughed. "Of course you can, sweetie. Today's a special day." As they enjoyed their ice cream in a nearby park, Lily observed her new family. It was different, not what she had expected, but somehow it felt right. The weeks passed, and life began to find a new rhythm. Lily alternated weekends between the Millers' house and Anne's. Each home offered something unique. With the Millers, she had the stability and affection of loving parents. With Anne, she discovered more about her family history and listened to enchanting stories about her mother as a child. Before they knew it, Lily's 6th birthday was approaching. It was a bittersweet day, the first birthday without her birth parents, but also a celebration of her new life and family. On the morning of her birthday, Lily woke up to the aroma of freshly made pancakes. She went downstairs to find the Millers' kitchen decorated with balloons and a colorful banner that read, "Happy birthday, Lily." "Happy birthday, princess," Thomas exclaimed, twirling Lily in the air. Claire came over, kissing Lily's cheek. "Happy birthday, sweetie. 6 years old. You're becoming a young lady." Lily smiled, but there was a shadow of sadness in her eyes. Claire noticed immediately. "What is it, honey?" she asked softly. Lily hesitated for a moment. I just wish Mommy and Daddy were here too." Thomas knelt beside her, his voice gentle. "Of course you do, Lily. And I'm sure they would be so proud of the strong and brave girl you are," Claire added. "How about we put a picture of them on the birthday table? That way, in a way, they'll be here with us." Lily's face lit up at the idea. She ran to get her favorite photo, the one with her parents at the park, all of them smiling and happy. The afternoon brought more surprises. Anne arrived, carrying a large present wrapped in bright paper. "Happy birthday, sweetie," Anne exclaimed, hugging Lily tightly. The living room soon filled with laughter and animated chatter. There were some of Lily's school friends, the neighbors, and even Mrs. Davis, the social worker who had taken care of Lily in the first few days after the accident. When it was time to sing Happy Birthday, Lily stood in front of the cake, its 6 candles burning brightly. She looked around at the smiling faces surrounding her, Claire and Thomas, her new parents, so full of love, Anne, her newfound grandmother, her eyes shining with pride, and the photo of her birth parents, smiling from the picture frame on the table. "Make a wish, Lily," someone shouted. Lily closed her eyes, thinking for a moment. Then, with a strong puff, she blew out all the candles at once. Later, as the party began to wind down, Lily found herself sitting on the garden swing, watching the sunset. Claire came over and sat beside her. "Was it a good day, sweetie?" Lily nodded, a small smile on her lips. "And it was the best." "What did you wish for when you blew out the candles?" Claire asked curiously. Lily looked at her, her eyes sparkling. "I can't tell, or it won't come true, but—" She hesitated for a moment. "I think it's already coming true." Claire hugged her gently. "I'm glad to hear that. You know, Lily, you've brought so much joy into our lives. Thomas and I, well, we couldn't ask for a better daughter." Lily snuggled into Claire's embrace. "I love you," she whispered. "You, Uncle Thomas, Grandma Anne, and Mommy and Daddy in heaven, too. And we all love you, sweetie, more than you can imagine." At that moment, Thomas and Anne joined them in the garden. Thomas was carrying a camera. "How about a family photo to end the day?" he suggested. They gathered under the big tree in the garden, the sky a spectacle of colors behind them. Lily in the center, Claire and Thomas on one side, Anne on the other. "Say cheese," Thomas said, setting the camera timer and rushing to join the group. "Cheese," everyone said in unison, bright smiles illuminating their faces. The flash went off, capturing the moment forever. A blended family, born from love and loss, united by the strength of a little girl who had faced more than any child should. Later, when Lily went to bed, she looked at the new family photo next to the photo of her birth parents on her nightstand. Her heart swelled with a feeling she couldn't quite name, a mixture of joy, gratitude, and a quiet kind of peace. "Good night, Mommy and Daddy," she whispered to the old photo. Then, looking at the new one, she added, "Good night, new family." And so Lily fell asleep, surrounded by the love of her past and her present, dreaming of all the possibilities the future might hold. Her journey had been difficult, filled with loss and discovery, but now, finally, she was home. Lily. A home made not just of walls and a roof, but of love, memories, and the promise of new beginnings. Outside, the stars twinkled in the night sky, as if Lily's parents were smiling down on their daughter, content to see her safe, loved, and above all, happy.